video will show you step 1 of making the apple scrap vinegar. So step 1 for making apple cider vinegar is I'm sterilizing these jars in the oven. And these are big 4-liter glass jars, and I have the oven on 225, and I'm going to leave them in there for about 20 minutes. Then I'll let them cool down and they'll be ready to place the apples in and start making cider vinegar. So here I have about 30 pounds of little apples from a wild tree, and I'm quartering them here to make some apple cider vinegar, but I'm going to use 2 different methods. I'm going to use a blender method as well as just using the quarters and see which one turns out better. So I'm going to cut all these up and then we'll proceed to making the vinegar. So here I have my apples chopped up. I have some in slices and some in quarters. Now you don't have to use whole apples. These were wild and they're not really great for fresh eating, so I'm using these. But you can also just use apple peels and apple cores. So just make sure that it's all organic and there's no sprays on your peels. And as well, organic apples have a safer core, so make sure they're organic and just go ahead and use your peels and cores that you would have thrown out anyway. But I'm also going to try something different with this batch, and I'm going to take some of them and put them through the food processor and make like an apple slurry. And as you can see, as soon as they're cut, they start to turn brown, which is perfectly fine. This is just the sugars oxidizing on the surface, and that will make a nice color to the vinegar. So here I have 2 4-liter jars, approximately half filled with apple pieces. And for the other 2 jars, I'm going to try something different. I'm going to go ahead and blend them up in the blender. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to put these slices in the blender and mix it about 50-50 with water, or enough water so that I can see that it's spinning well in the blender. And then this will go in the other jars. Okay, so here I have the apples in the blender. Some water, and let's hope my blender can handle this. So I'm going to start with probably shred. Now with this method, I'm going to fill the jars completely up with this slurry. Okay, so I'm going to continue to do this until I have enough to fill my other 2 4-liter jars. So here we have the apple scrap vinegar that has the whole pieces of apple in it, and I filled them up with filtered water. And in the back here we have the apple puree vinegar. Now at this point you may want to add some sugar. I don't add sugar, but you can if you feel it's necessary, if your apples are not sweet enough. Just add about a heaping tablespoon of organic cane sugar. Brown sugar is probably the better option per liter. So this is a 4-liter, so I would add 4 tablespoons of sugar if I'm going to do that. But I have a mother that I've been babying along from another vinegar. So I'm going to add, again, about 4 tablespoons of the mother from an apple cider vinegar. So you can go ahead and find a good quality raw live apple cider vinegar and add about 4 tablespoons of mother to a 4-liter jar. A tablespoon per liter. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So this is some pretty funky looking stuff. This is the mother from a live apple cider vinegar, and I'm going to go ahead and add 4 tablespoons in each of my 4 jars. So now that I have those goopy mothers added in, I'm going to go ahead and give it a slight stir. And I like to do everything with just glass and wood. I'm apprehensive of touching this stuff off of metal. It may destroy some of the live enzymes in here. I'm just pushing it around. Go ahead and stir these back here. Now for these jars, you'll notice that the apples are floating above the water, and you don't want that to happen. So instead of covering these with cheesecloth, what I've done is I've went around and looked for a bottle that will fit inside the lid pretty snugly, and I'm just going to use that as the cap and as the weight. So I'm going to put that there in the top of each one, and that will weigh the apples down underneath the water and act as a cap for our vinegar bottles. Now for these jars, where it's all blended through, we're going to cover them in a paper towel or cheesecloth. I don't have any cheesecloth on hand, and I always use these paper towels. So now I just set them back in the room where I do my kombucha, where it remains around 20 degrees Celsius. And I'm just going to let them do their own thing and ferment. And in a little while, we'll take another look and see how they're coming along. So we still have quite a few apples left over, and we do use vinegar for a lot of different things, not just eating. I use it for fruit and veggie wash and for cleaning up my cutting board. So I'm going to go ahead and use this plastic bucket. I wouldn't use this for the vinegar I'm going to consume, but I'll use it for some vinegar for using for cleaning. So I'm going to go ahead and use this plastic bucket, just throw the rest of the apples in, and I threw a little bit of the leftover mother in there. I'm going to top it up with just some water from the hose, and then I'll weigh it down with a plate and place that in a warm place as well, so we can use up all these extra little apples. So here we go. I just finished filling this bucket halfway with the hose, and again the apples are above water, so I'll weigh them down. Perfect. So now I can just put this in a warm place and have some extra vinegar for doing our cleaning. So here it is on day 3 now, and you can see there's some bubbles forming, which is a good thing. And there's actually more bubbles forming in the one that we did with the pureed apple. So now I'll just wait another 7 days for a total of 10 days to do the video on step 2 of how to make this apple scrap vinegar. And you can make it with just the peels and cores, or if you find little wild bitter apples like these ones, it's great for making vinegar. And I just wanted to let you know I got these jars for free, and if you go around to restaurants you can probably get these for free. They just toss them. These are giant pickle jars that are left over from restaurants. So I'll see you all next week for step 2.